Good morning and welcome to Local Business Focus. I'm Sally Barker. Joining us on the show today is Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Sally. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. Good to hear. What have you been doing this week?
Lots of the same sort of stuff, but you've intrigued me with your topic today. I had no idea what you're talking about. Absolutely no idea. And there will be people listening who really know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So the answer is 42.
Absolutely. There's a man in a dressing gown. Okay.
Beginning of a joke, yes.
That's the beginning of a story. That's right. Yes. So let's keep the story. There's a man in a dressing gown. Okay, escapes the planet. Okay, because the main roads department of a foreign species wants to make a freeway where Earth is. Okay, and so begins our story of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Okay, and he gets a babelfish in his ear, and a babelfish is a thing that enables him to be able to translate anything that's spoken to him. Okay, and it's interesting. If you Google babelfish, B-A-B-E-L fish, it's a translating site on the internet. Okay, which just proves to you how keen people are to follow the story, and it's easy to remember, and it's a fun story. It's a lot of silliness. One of the characters, B. Brox, has two heads. So he's not from Tasmania, he's from America. No. Sorry, all the Tasmanians, I don't know if you say. Anyway, so the story is all about the meaning of life. Okay? And the book, the t-shirt, the series, all the TV series and everything. The question, though, that's the thing that's always intrigued me. The question, and the story goes along the lines that a species wanted to know what the answer to life was, and so they came up with the answer being 42. And if the answer is 42, was then reasoned, well, we don't know what the question is to get the answer that is 42. So another planet was built because Earth was the original planet that was the computer that calculated what the answer to life is. Okay, right. So now they had to build another computer, and the computer was the size of the planet, run by mice, and they decided the question to life was what is 6 times 9? I've got no idea what all that means, but it was a fun book, fun series of books, and it's has a lot of amusing little subplots, and it's great. It always intrigues me when I read those sort of things, how to apply those fun things to life, and what's the author getting at, and what's his little rant that he's having. What message is he trying to send? I've put that message into the business side of things. So what's the answer? What's the answer to your business? What's the question to your business? What are you driving at? What are you getting to? Okay. So at this point, I need to say to you that any advice that I give and anything that I say is in concept and in the spirit of general professional opinions only. If you want advice, get it your trusted advisor. Someone who is by your side, who is with you to ask questions of. Okay, there's someone who understands you, but not necessarily someone who agrees with you. We spoke about that some time ago.
Yes.
And I like that idea. I think the answer to business is money, because that's what we do business for. We do business to make money. Okay, so the idea is how does that make us business people? Now, some people do business to make just enough money so they can live. Okay, and there I don't have anything wrong, anything against those sort of people, and I couldn't do that myself. But that's definitely a way of being. Usually they're single contractors. Usually they're tradies, and usually they don't want to be bothered doing anything more. Get what they need and work. Go home. I have one client. His name's Frank. A lot of my clients are called Frank when I talk about them with other people. He likes going fishing, and so when he's made enough for the week, he's going fishing. So some days he knocks off on Wednesday afternoon and doesn't come back. half his luck. I've got 8 staff, so I can't do that sort of thing, or as much. So the answer is money. And really the thing that governs how we do things is profit. In Western language, that's what we call it, which is the money that's left over after we pay the costs when we've sold something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're using your own labour, okay, so if you're just selling your time, your costs are things like clothes and research, personal exertion. So it's not just short-term things. It could be your education. So instead of charging $40 an hour, you've decided that you need to pay your HECS off. You need to have someone appreciate that you've got a business degree or a degree of something else, or a degree in journalism like you've got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you might be charging $100 an hour, and that is your in-kind, your appreciation of that payment you've made early on in your life, studying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's your cost, and that's your sell, and that's your buy. Your profit is the difference. Okay. So when we're talking about a business and we're talking about putting things like that together and making a plan, we've spoken about putting a longer term plan into place so that we act strategically and we don't waste any of that money.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't waste any of that effort. Okay. So we've spoken about renting versus buying, and the idea of having cash flow available so you can do short-term things rather than long-term things. Or if you wanted to make a long-term investment, it may be better to buy something as a single large capital purchase and amortize that. And amortizing is spreading the cost as a tax depreciation, spreading the cost by applying the cost of a replacement item in 5 or 10 years' time over the life of the product, the life of the machine. Amortizing is spreading. Okay, so we're spreading the cost, we're spreading the finance, we're spreading the risk. Accountants like using fancy words, and some of them are very good because they actually accurately describe some stuff. But quite often they confuse the matter because people actually don't understand it properly.
Mm.
So the idea is if you have to set up your business and you need to spend $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 with equipment and office chairs and desks and machinery and things like that, you want to balance that out so that you don't want to take a hit for $70,000 straight up front, because then your company will record a loss in that year, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to say, right, I want to spread the cost of that over 5 years so that my company is shown to make more of a profit. Okay? Now, it could be completely irrelevant because if you're dealing with cash, you've paid the money.
Mm.
There's no change in paying the money. You have to pay the money. So we're talking about accounting things. So we're talking about when we're making money, how we're looking after it, how we're plotting it. Can you actually track how much money you've made? And do you need to amortize your costs to spread out your costs so that you're, what's the word? It's a bit like a finance company in that concept. Instead of paying $20,000 for a car, you pay $100 a week. That's amortization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the accountants of the world go off their nut at me, but the idea of spreading the payments across. So back to the point I was trying to make. Do you know how much profit you're making with every item you're selling? Okay. Have you added up all the costs for all the things that make up your office? All the things that add in. Okay. So take, for instance, I've just sold a laptop and it's got a power board with it and an extra monitor and some software. Now, it would cost me a certain amount to buy all those things from the distributor, okay, and have them delivered from the warehouse. Okay, so let's say I've sold the laptop and everything for $100. Let's make it nice and cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't that cheap, but anyway.
Can I get one of you?
Yeah, sure, yeah. They come in a bulk discount at the moment. It might cost me $60 or $70 to buy the laptop, and then $2 or $3 to get the freight delivered to my door, and then it might cost another $10 for software, $10 to install it, so we're up to $92. Okay, so where does power come into it from a building? Where does the salaries for my staff come in?
Yeah.
Have I not charged enough? Now I can tell you if I've sold a laptop for $100, I haven't charged enough. I can tell you that straight away. So the idea of looking out for the things that are your overheads, as well as the things that are not able to be tracked physically or per purchase. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So buying a laptop, you can see what you're buying and you're selling it on. But the things you can't see and you can't track by purchase are your staff and your electricity, the desks they sit at, the education and the qualifications and the all the investment you've made to teach people how to do things. Okay, that is also a cost going. So what often comes out to be a cost of, say, you might say $50. I usually allow about 100% markup on those sort of things to cover my costs and to make a profit. Okay, the market out there, some very cheap white box movers, what we call white box movers, they're people who they'll add 2% or 3% on the large volume items because they're not concerned about what's in it. They just want to sell it. They get off the shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. We can't compete with those as a small dealer. We don't sell 100 laptops a week. So getting a very small margin over a large volume isn't going to happen with laptops.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do? We craft things and we make it personalised. We provide extra good service. We deliver the items to people's door. We guide them to the best decisions they make. So that quality and value add on the customer service means that we can charge a little bit more than the cheapies.
Yeah.
Okay. But also the client gets a better experience. That adds to the cost. So you need to be aware of all these things. So I'll go back to the other systems we've spoken about previously about looking after your finances, looking after your costs and the way you're doing things, taking control of your business. Okay. The answer is 42, and the question may not always match. But the idea is to ask those questions and have those discussions. We've spoken about having a IT guru.
Yes.
Okay. There's other gurus to have. There's business coaches, insurance, accounting, all that sort of thing. Anytime you're in trouble or need help with those things, talk to someone. Find a networking group. I mean, I'm involved in a local group that looks to local people. Okay, so I have lots of local connections that I can pick up the phone in my own time zone. Okay, I can go and meet them for a coffee if I want to and talk about all this stuff. And so it's helped me get better at asking the questions of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've been just talking about costs at this time.
Yes.
But the idea is honing those skills and improving those skills. And I'd encourage you all to actually seek better knowledge and do better things, in your business in every way.
Mm-hmm.
Have I missed anything?
No, don't settle. That's it. Just don't settle.
That's
Keep
right.
asking questions.
Yes, that's right.
And if you don't know, ask.
And if the question doesn't match, okay, then find the answer to that question, and then find the question to the answer that does match.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
yes.
it isn't always clear. You've got to just keep pursuing. And also, remember a sense of humour. Ford Prefect had his dressing gown. He's left the planet. You can do better than that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Local Business Focus. Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor.
Thanks for having me.